Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring tjabZ in the top left corner, playing our blue Terran, and in the top right we have ViperXk, our red Terran. Not gonna lie, this is my third attempt at casting this game. Every time something's happened, whether my computer decided to start pinging random things, get a phone call, it's frustrating, but I still love you. It's okay. tjabZ is in Diamond, as is ViperXk. We are in Antigua, which is a very old map. Everybody loves it. Everyone wants it. I think this is the original because we have the rich mineral patches in the middle, as well as the absence of supply depots down here at the base of the ramp to prevent the pesky pylon wall in. I think this is a map that you can do that on. I know this is a map that we see those supply depots sometimes. tjabZ is getting up his first supply depot, as is Viper, right by the ramp. Nothing new here, nothing instrumental or crazy. We're going to see a barracks followed shortly by another supply depot, maybe a gas geyser being tapped. Also, I've seen gas first build recently, just because of the new Heart of the Swarm stuff coming out. But it's rare, and this is by far the most standard of the builds. We can see that there is money being banked by tjabZ. Oh, but it looks like he's just a little bit behind, maybe. Yeah, he's queued up an extra SCV. Otherwise, he'd have the money in order to build his. And now he's got the money to build the barracks. I don't know what he's waiting for. He's got his command center queued down to the bottom. It looks like he's going for a command center first build. That is indeed what he's doing. He's got 350 minerals. He's got his SCV coming down to the bottom. He hasn't grabbed any gas. It's command center first, and that's very good news for Viper because he is moving up his first SCV into the common ground. And this is officially as far as I made it in the last two replays, because every time, phone call or I think it was like a ad pop up in the bottom right corner or something like that, and it's unforgivable. It's okay, baby, I forgive you. Command center being warped into the orbital. We have the first Marine on production from Viper. He's got it rallied to his SCV, which will be poking at the front door. I think Viper knows that he's got a little bit of a lead as far as units going. He's got that first barracks already up, first barracks on the way. Oh, tjabZ forced to cancel his production just for a couple of seconds so he can pull his SCV off to defend back at home. The SCV on the command center taking just a little bit more damage. And this is the second SCV that Viper has kind of harassed, forcing a multiple loss in SCV production time. He's wasting 4 SCVs right now on buildings, as well as buying enough time for Viper to get that first Marine down to the natural. We can see 3 SCVs from Viper right now. One of them is going to be building a bunker close, maybe behind the mineral line right. No, it looks like just down to the south of it. Easier for the Marines to get to it and get into it. Focusing down the SCV that was building the bunker. A large pull of SCVs coming from tjabZ. This Marine's going to be in for a world of hurt if he gets surrounded, but another Marine coming in too. You can watch the workers killed count going up for 2, 3. This is a big win for Viper. Taking out SCVs so early in the game can really hinder an economy. We can see it's 14 to 16 right now, so that's not bad at all. Oh, but it looks like tjabZ has answered back with some Marines of his own, and he succeeded in taking down every single one of the SCVs that had come in originally with the push. And now that bunker, it's only like 20 health away from being totally finished. With 3 Marines, they desperately want to get that bunker up so they can get inside and start doing a bit more damage. They've succeeded in taking down every single one of the Marines from tjabZ, but 2 more will be popping shortly. And now with 2 fresh ones against 3, but one of them with only 2 hit points. You've got to be very careful. Another 2, 3 SCVs going down, leading the total count to 9. And the units lost tab just showing you how much this has helped ViperXk. I mean, 600 over 250. That bunker's got to be canceled, though, so that some of the money can be back. Oh, no, Viper is moving up his SCV to finish it. It is finished, but then it's got 50 hit points. The SCV goes down immediately, and that's 150 minerals wasted right there. That is too bad. It looks like the final Marine from Viper does die. Another one is rallied in, but hopefully Viper can remember to pull that back. And on the back of this aggression, Viper has built 2 bunkers, or barracks, back at home. He's got 2 geysers up, but only 1 SCV mining off of each one. Kind of stuttering along in the gas income, but an orbital command is on the way down at the natural. tjabZ already has his orbital up, so it's not a total wash. In fact, I don't think tjabZ lost too much in that aggression. He lost 4 harvesters, but the early mule, he's going to have 1 more mule than Viper, and that's 300 minerals, so he should be able to translate that into SCVs eventually, catch up. And so it's not a total wash. tjabZ is not in terrible shape, but he needs to do a little bit of counter aggression, maybe poke at the front door of Viper, and maybe keep him honest, because Viper's got a bit of an economic lead, and he's going to have to hold that and capitalize on that. 2 barracks back at home with 1 factory. Factory is, I don't know, it could be for a bio play. We can see 2 racks into factory every now and then. Hellion's not going to be the best choice for this map, just because you can see the wall of Marines being built on the top of that ramp, and tjabZ does not have enough units to force his way through this wall. But with the early gas out of Viper, and he's got so many Marines down right now, and the Tech Lab on its way with Stim, I think it's going to be a bio play out of Viper. It still remains to be seen exactly what tjabZ, with the starport being built right next to the factory, building the reactor, it appears is going to be bio for him also. Pretty cool builds, very micro-intensive, and some very powerful drops can come out of either player. To be noted, though, that Stim is on the way for Viper. He's got 2 gas geysers mining, one of which is fully and one of which only has 1 harvester on it, but only 1 gas for tjabZ. He hasn't grabbed either of the gases back at home or in the natural, so he's going to be behind on upgrades. He's got 2 barracks being built right now, but the Tech Lab is sitting empty right next to the starport, and with only 1 Vespene geyser being mined, he's not going to have enough gas to produce 2 medevacs at one time, let alone 2 medevacs, Stim, combat shield, all of which he'll need to keep pace with Viper. So Viper's added gas income is really going to give him an edge in this matchup as things go on. So tjabZ is going to have to make something happen or get up a lot of geysers. Oh no, there goes number 2, so that's good. Maybe he'll need 3 though, just to catch up. Especially with the 2 engineering bays being added on the Viper. He had more than 300 gas short time ago, but we can see that +1/+1 is being added on. +1/+1 Stim just now finishing. These Marines are going to be able to do quite a lot of damage. But with 2 bunkers on the high ground, tjabZ should be able to hold them off for the time being. What really is going to come down to it is that tjabZ has the medevac out right now, and we don't see any of that being built just yet. Factory just now being finished. It's more than halfway done. A little bit of stutter step micro is going to take down both of the geysers from tjabZ back at home in the natural, but the medevac pushing forward with a couple of Marines. The Stim going off. Is Stim better than Marines with the medevac? I think tjabZ is going to have a leg up on Viper in this. Combat shield, medevac, much better than Stim when it comes to defensive posturing. The Marines kind of having to empty out of the bunker just to do a little bit of damage to the Marines, but these Marines that are from Viper have been weakened by their Stim. There goes another Stim, bringing them almost down completely to red. They absolutely melt from the fire from tjabZ. Overall, not the most successful of aggression. We can see that the resources last step still about 150 from each other, and the 9 workers killed from Viper goes up to 13. So he did succeed in taking down 4 more, but that's not really worth the close to 450 minerals that he poured into that aggression. Armory being added on top, and a Tech Lab being added onto the factory. The starport's probably going to have to switch out with one of the reactors being built on the barracks next door, or it could be that starport's going to just be producing 1 medevac at a time. Either way, those medevacs are going to be very important. Good scan from Viper scouting that it's a small force moving out from tjabZ. You're going to have to be mindful of the fact that those medevacs are capable of dropping behind enemy lines. A drop right here would be absolutely disastrous, especially with the 2 engineering bays close by. Unfortunately, that force won't arrive in time to take down the +1/+1, which is just now finishing. All of a sudden, the upgrade advantage swings back into Viper's favor. 1-1 over 0-0. A mule transferring over to the hidden third, which will expose that third definitely. Didn't really want to take this third here, as it is so close by air to tjabZ's home, which is a very wise play from Viper. Very smart play, but it looks like this mule will expire. A little bit of lost minerals there. But overall, with that third, I think Viper's going to be succeeding in grabbing an economic lead. He's really capitalized on that early economic lead that he grabbed. And now it's only a matter of time for either tjabZ to get desperate and push out with absolutely everything he has, which he's making motions for. He's got that first tank up, which is a good timing. Oh, but also siege tank up. for Viper, and he's got that siege mode finished, whereas the siege mode is just now starting for tjabZ. So that's bad. He's also got the stim on the way, but not quite done. It's going to walk into that siege line, taking 1 shot, 2 shot. There goes the stim, which tjabZ is desperately missing right now, but what Viper's missing is medevacs. Another quick stim from the Marines, allowing them to close so very quickly. All the medevacs go down. First 2 medevacs from Viper have arrived, and they are going to heal up this weak-end Marine force and then lift them off and probably drop them into the main. The third is being grabbed by tjabZ, not having to take the awkward third down in the bottom left corner like Viper did. It looks like the Marines are being ferried up by the medevacs, the rest of them going around to the left. Joint aggression here is going to be very, very, very powerful, especially if those Marines can get in, maybe target down the factory, maybe target down the tech lab that's working on combat shield. The Marines, instead of going off to die at the natural, have decided to take a little bit of a detour off to the third. Incredibly potent there, taking down the tech lab, taking down the factory. The siege tank, though, had finished and moved off to the left side. Don't miss that the tech lab from the barracks that was researching combat shield was indeed targeted down. +2 on the way for Viper, +1 just now being started for tjabZ. So even though he does now have stim, even though his economy wasn't in the worst of shape a couple seconds ago, now it's 37 over 51, a devastating drop from Viper, and he's also keeping alive those very important medevacs. A very good play from Viper, and a very big loss from tjabZ. He doesn't really have a lot of forces on the field. 31 over 22 for Viper, 10 to 2 for the siege tank count for tjabZ. So he's in a bit of trouble, I'm not going to lie. And it looks like Viper is scanning just to see exactly what he has to deal with. And what he has to deal with is not much. Viper can afford to sit back and relax and macro off of the third base. He's also grabbing that fourth right now, confident of the fact that tjabZ is not going to be able to push out with too much in order to punish that fourth expansion. And as time goes on, the upgrade advantage is going to be swinging heavier and heavier into Viper's favor. The +1 armor is just now being started. +2 will be finishing for tjabZ, but combat shield hasn't been started just yet. It looks like the tech lab that went down on the barracks is being replaced by a reactor. So he only has reactors. No, yeah, he only has reactors. The timing for that combat shield is going to be forever. We'll never get a combat shield for tjabZ. Combat shield's done for Viper, though, and he's got the 2-1 upgrades, so the Marines from Viper are going to be incredibly resilient compared to tjabZ's, so he's going to have to rely on siege tanks. And there's a siege tank advantage for Viper. Man, tjabZ is in a world of hurt. His economy's in shambles, 61 over 53. I mean, he's recovering, but it's because he threw on so many command centers back at home, probably going to morph them into orbitals just to supplement his income with mules, but at what time? I mean, he's only got 100 minerals left alone, and he's going to have to hold off this incredibly potent push coming out of Viper. I mean, he's got 3 pages of units, 7 medevacs. It's going to be rough, not going to lie. Quite a lot of siege tanks, too. However, defender's advantage always goes in the favor for Terran. So he's got those siege tanks up on the high ground. A little bit of a stim just to see exactly what is pushing in. The siege tanks haven't quite sieged yet. They have sieged now, and that's creating a dead man's land in the middle. Neither player wants to run into the siege line, but only one siege tank from tjabZ is down by that siege line, and the second one way up defending the main, and it looks like there's going to be another drop. The siege tanks have sieged up onto the high ground being scouted by the medevacs up top, so these Marines have to be very, very careful. They are getting focused down. I think tjabZ is on his last leg here. A little bit of a supply difference, 148 over 100. 2 more tanks on the way. If tjabZ can hold off long enough to get these extra 2 tanks out, he might stand a chance. Right now we are at a bit of a standstill, just because Viper is content to mine off of the 4 bases that he has, whereas tjabZ is going to be trying for a sneaky third down in the bottom left corner, but it's going to get scouted by these Marines if they remain in that area. No, man, how slow is this orbital command? Will it get scouted? This is really tense, actually. It's going to be just outside of range, I think. It's not going to land at this third. It's going to move down to maybe down here. Is this queued up? No, it's just being sent there. Oh, no! Those Marines do scout it, and they should be able to take it down completely before it makes it off into the no man's land, or at least into fire. It does. Oh no! It didn't quite catch fire, but if ViperXk wants to, he can probably send off more than a handful of Marines down into the bottom left corner just to hunt that down. Speaking of hunting, we can see 4 Vikings are on their way, scouting and hitting the medevacs, forcing the siege tanks to reposition. The siege tanks from ViperXk have sieged and are just raining down fire on tjabZ's Marines, which kind of exposed themselves by running into the common ground. The Vikings, good control from tjabZ, but those Marines are so fast when they stem, they can get underfoot and do just a little bit of damage. Unfortunately, tjabZ has to protect the investment that is that orbital command, and he hasn't been able to land it, hasn't been able to expend any of his mules on that, and we can see that a couple of the mineral fields are beginning to disappear back at home. The natural also is beginning to get mined out. So tjabZ's economy is going to be crashing down around his ears any second now. The main is mined out for Viper, but he's got an extra 2 bases to be mining off of. And so he's more than content just to sit back. He's got a maxed out army. He's got almost maxed out upgrades. 3-3 will be finishing shortly, plus 2 weapons for vehicles is being built. The tjabZ is pushing out a little bit with his tank ball. He's got 7 of them out right now. 9 tanks right now, and ViperXk only has the 7, but he's got 74 Marines to only the 56 out of tjabZ. So I think tjabZ's he's going to get desperate pretty soon. His economy is going to crash, and he's going to have to absolutely push out 4K minerals back at home for Viper. So even if tjabZ wins this force completely, he's got so many unit producing buildings that they're having to come out of the main onto the common ground before they can be made anything. So he's just going to be able to pour all this money into all these new units, remacro his 200 over 200 army. So even if tjabZ comes out on top on one engagement, he's going to get slightly depleted, and he won't be able to remacro as quickly, though he does have a bit of a bank. I don't know, as time goes on, it looks like tjabZ is stabilizing more and more. Unfortunately, a big loss there. The orbital does go down from ViperXk, who kept his Marines patrolling in different areas. Couple siege tanks shooting here and there, but really it's just testing the other line to see whenever the other person decides to move out, which will really tell you when the engagement's going to be happening. 67 over 46, so quite a little bit of the Marines have been lost. Another round, though, of Marines popping out just now for ViperXk, getting him back to being maxed. It looks like he's repositioning one of his orbitals to take one of the high-yield mineral expansions in the top middle portion of the mini-map. Oh, here comes a bit of an engagement. Oh, ViperXk moving forward with his siege tanks. So many of his Marines getting melted down by the combined fire of the siege tanks from Tab, which have been sieged already, but the Marines from ViperXk far outnumbered tjabZ's Marines, and he could push through. He had superior upgrades, and he was left with 6 siege tanks against the 2 from tjabZ. Yeah, he had a couple of units up on the high ground, a couple of Vikings that he could have landed down there, but remember that the economy of ViperXk was just so intimidating that he could sweep out another maxed army units. Look at those bunkers. I don't even want to know how many bunkers there are here, barracks there are here. Absolutely intimidating. Very well done. ViperXk showing you what happens whenever you're transitioning to late game when you've got extra money. You just build more barracks, more siege tanks, more everything. Very well done. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have a replay you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.